one of y'all talk about the ending. It seemed like, they threw the touchdown pass and they probably should have had the extra point. Talk about how crazy that was or something like that.
When we first, I wasn't quite sure what happened. I saw that they blew. I know I heard the cannon, and the clock was on 0. At that point, I'm like, okay, let's got the field. Let's go on. And if they score, hopefully they didn't. But I'm not quite sure what happened myself. And I'm like Coach Bow. I'm trying to get out the field when the clock hit 0.
Anything more for these guys?
All right, guys.
Appreciate it.
We have Gerald McGrath, Josh Barnes, and Taylor Hendricks.
Best chair.
Gerald, talk about how big this game is as far as beating Houston, who had such a high-powered offense. Y'all limited them to only 377 yards, but then your offense came and put up just as many yards as that. Talk about how big the game is.
To be honest with you, Eric, I think the defense and I think the offense too. Like every game you play is a big game. It's a championship winning game. Because every game has an outlook, on your season. So for us, our goal is, of course, to win conference. So that means taking each game. Every game is like a championship game, and this is like a huge game. And so is the next game we play would be a huge game in our quest for the championship game. But this is definitely going in a great direction. We still got some things to work on, but we'll catch it on film on Monday and try to make the right corrections and prepare for the next week.
Caleb talked about how you had two of your best offensive players out, and you feel like the pressure was on the defense to come out there and hold them?
Well, not necessarily. This is a team game. It's football. So when somebody's out, someone always had to come in and step in. But we had to go out and do a little more extra than we normally do. By having two offensive starts, two guys on offense out. So I just felt like it was a big challenge for us anyway. So to go out there and just get the job done.
Talk about the week ahead with Virginia Tech. Anybody? Just they're coming off 2 losses, and so it's their homecoming in Blacksburg. So talk about how y'all are going to prepare for that game.
We prepare for it just like the game. They'll come out hungry. They about to lose 2 games back to back or whatever. So we're just gonna approach every other game. We gotta go out there and get a win. And, they have a very good football team and well coachable. You just gotta go out there and get a win.
Just to reiterate on what Caleb said, you just gotta catch them on film and just prepare like any other team and any other week, and definitely them coming off 2 losses. I know their team would definitely be hungry, and like you said, they have great coaches, so we just gonna have to prepare and just get ready mentally and physically for this next week.
Josh, it looked like Jeremy kind of got back in the act that his toe really wasn't bothering quite as bad that tonight he could move around and also find you guys out there.
Yeah, it wasn't that good for him. He was getting well and he's able to move around in the pocket and it's giving us better chance to make plays at the season.
How pretty was that pass from MT there on that touchdown, that first touchdown?
Oh, it was a great one. I had to make the best that I could out of the opportunity that I got. And he threw it over where I could make a play on it, so I had to make a play whenever I had my chance.
Did you have to make a little adjustment there in midair? I know you had to come back across your body.
Yeah, I had to make an adjustment, but he was able to get it to me, so I had to make a play. I had to do my half on it.
There were a lot of drop balls that week against Tulsa. Did y'all have kind of an emphasis on the receiving before to go out there and make hold on to the ball there?
Yeah, that was a big point out of practice this week. Making plays out, catching the ball first of all, and also making big blocks. And tonight I feel like we did a decent job in both of that.
Okay, Josh. Okay, we have Sean Nelson here in the middle and Darius Webb over here on the other side. Questions for these gentlemen?
Sean, obviously, having set out after what happened, I'm sure you know not to obviously do that again. But were you anxious to get in there? And I know you obviously showed what you got once you got in there.
Yeah, I was pretty anxious. I never been in a situation like that. I felt like, you know, the suspension thing was a misunderstanding, you know, but, you know, I just went on ahead and dealt with it. But, you know, I was pretty anxious to get back in and play with my teammates, you know, and play the game that I play, you know, go out there and make plays like I usually do.
And obviously, when you and Damien got in there, y'all just continued with the offense and kept scoring and gave it to Houston pretty good.
Oh yeah, you know, I sat down and had a talk with Damien, you know, and we just learned from it, you know, learned from our mistakes, you know what I'm saying? Just looked at it as something positive, you know. You know, we talked on the sideline for a little while, you know, and cheered our teammates on, you know, when it was time for us to get out there, we did our thing, you know, we uplifted the spirit of the players and the fans, you know, and did what we did and brought something against football back.
Obviously, it's nice to get back in the winning track, and you play a really good team, Virginia Tech, coming off like Houston, 2 straight losses. Sure, you'd like to give them a 3rd straight.
Oh yeah, man. We gotta, you know, they coming out 2 losses, man. It's a whole new ball game. You know, it's a 0-0. You know, they 0-0, we 0-0. That's how I look at it. You know, we gotta come out and, you know, win a football game. It's a big game for us. You know, and gotta put Southern Miss back on the map and bring the tradition back.
Was it frustrating watching that first half?
Not really. I mean, coming from me, you know, with the suspension thing, you know, everybody just heard one side of the story and didn't hear mine, so I was pretty comfortable with it. You know, I just left it in the guy's hands and let him deal with it for me. You know, I was pretty good. I felt pretty good about it. But, you know, I mean, it really didn't bother me, you know, but it was kind of different, you know, not being out there with your teammates, you know, and starting the game. It was my first time not even starting the game, you know, in my 2 years playing football here. But, you know, I wasn't worried about it. I just came out and stayed humble, you know, and just played the ball in the second half.
Well, Darius, you're really active out there tonight. What do you think about your performance?
Well, I always knew I had the talent, so I mean the quarterback challenged us in the back end. So you know we took the challenge, you know, as he talking about Southern Miss, you know, saying that we down in their playing level, which we don't think so. So we just took the challenge and had to show them what Southern Miss really about. You know, got to try to keep our reputation.
Did y'all really take it as a challenge facing it really, you know, pass team that passes, you know, the ball so much?
Yes, we really did. I mean, he had like 14 touchdowns he had and 1 interception and like 1,700 yards. So we feel like, you know, this is #1 offense against #1 defense. So we just came out to show who the best, you know. Like they always say, offense sell tickets, defense winning games. So we had to show them #1 defense.
Sean, talk about how your hand has felt this week and how you've been preparing to with the pain and all of that.
This week preparing for this game, I haven't been practicing with the team. I've been, you know, just running routes and, you know, practicing holding the ball in my left hand, you know, with my head trainer. But, you know, I took an X-ray Thursday, you know, my bone is getting back together. Still slight, you know, hair line in between, but it's getting back together. It's healing. Still sore a little bit, you know, had a splint made for it. Came back out and practiced with the guys Thursday evening, you know, caught some balls, you know, felt pretty good about it. So I decided to play in the game this week. Had a little pain, you know, mostly I have pain when the pressure is being put on, you know, when I catch the ball, I feel a little bit, but, you know, as far as blocking, I feel more pain than when I fall on it. But overall, it's been getting good.
Also, talk about the last touchdown. You had the false start right before. And then how did it feel to just come out and make that catch and get the touchdown?
Actually, you know, the false start, my left tackle made a call and it started with a G, you know what I'm saying? So he made it twice and I thought it was the go, you know what I'm saying? The play call was on go, so that's how I false started and jumped out. But, you know, I told him I was going to make up for it, you know. Coach called the play, you know, I made up for it and scored a touchdown for the team. You know, it was my first touchdown of the year, so it felt pretty good.
One last question for Ladarius. Just talk about the preparations for Virginia Tech and how you feel the Nasty Bunch and the whole team is going to be ready for them.
I mean, just like, you know, every week we got to be mentally focused, you know. We got to come out ready. If everybody coming out with it on their mind that we're going to win this game, then we can do it because I feel that we can do anything. We just, you know, we got to practice, have a good practice this week. If everybody come out and practice real good, then we'll have a good game.
Thank you.
Okay, good enough. Thanks, guys.